Okay, so this is what I made. It's kind of falling apart after 4 uses. But you can see the little Twitter bird up in the left corner and a bunch of hashtags that I looked up. I didn't know all of them, but there's like websites that collect the best hashtags for a topic. And then over here you can see the QR codes. Fun fact, there's free QR code scanners, but Erasma also works as both a QR code scanner as well as Erasma itself. So if you're going to use that later, you might just use it now. We just did QR scanners because they had them. And then it's a QR code. I just Googled like free QR code creator online or generator online and then made them and put like a quick little blurb underneath so they could see them. You can see for environment, there's a lot of different topics. This was a tougher one, and they could come up with their own too. It didn't have to be one of the ones I came up with. And then I decided I'm going to reuse the top half of these, so I cut off the bottom half to reuse with my 2 prep periods because we did it later. And on the left, current movements, I had to cross 1 or 2 out because they weren't movements, but you could see EPA, Sierra Club, Greenpeace, National, right? They did a great job finding groups. And then some of the questions that they wrote, why don't we do something about climate change? Why does society try so hard to forget our racial past? That one was weird. I don't know why that one was there, but the other 2 were pretty good. Here's an example. I only had one group make a poster, and they were talking about Second Amendment rights and gun violence, so they presented today, and this was their poster. So they've got like 2 kind of pictures on the bottom. This was hanging at the front when they presented. But most of them are pretty short. These long ones under current are longer than 5x5. This one didn't go so great, so I would really discourage them from making just a standard poster because they say less and it's harder to divide. They did, however, here's another one. This way you can screenshot them if you just want to reuse the stuff I came up with. You can use my hashtags. Save yourself some time and some topics. So LGBTQ and plus equality, income inequality. And then those were kind of related, and I had them spread out more when we were doing them. But they were kind of related because, you know, women get paid less than men still, and there's gender rights. So some of them overlapped, and I made sure to point that out. For racial equality, there was a lot here. Why is Black Lives Matter so racist? Why is racism a bigger problem today than 20 years ago? Can white people be racist? There's some really interesting stuff. And here are some of the hashtags. Growing up black is a hashtag that's more just about raising awareness about what it means to be growing up black. So sometimes people will post funny things about their family or something. So it wasn't necessarily a serious one, but I still thought it was useful to kind of experience what it's like for someone of a different race, because most of my students are not or don't identify as being black. Gender equality. He for She was a really good one. He for She is actually also a campaign, so it went under current group. That's by Emma Watson. And then really making sure they use the questions, like, hey, go back to the questions. Make sure you answer them in your presentation. Here's immigrant rights. This was really popular, and it's okay if more than one group does immigrant rights as long as they do different groups, obviously. And then last, I had another example over here. I think that's all of them. If you think of another one, go for it, obviously. But this group, the poster I showed you, one thing they did that was really cool is they made a KWL chart, and they passed out Post-it notes. So they wrote down 3 examples and read them to the class, and then asked the class, they'd already passed out Post-it notes, asked the class to write down something they knew or wanted to know. And then at the end, they were supposed to ask them to write down something they learned, but as I said, it wasn't that strong of a presentation. So this idea was cool, and they did get a lot of really interesting questions, like how do teenagers have access to guns? So I asked them to choose 2 and talk about them with us, and that didn't go great, but I can see with different students it going really well. And you really need them to practice the steps of like, so this is a KWL chart. This is things we know, right? Explaining what it is, then saying, here are 3 examples that we wrote, and reading them. Now on yours, write down something you know or something you know, the whole like teaching process. That was really hard for them. So anyway, that's the presentations, and if you have questions, let me know.